Hello, hello there, COP. Good evening. Welcome to our online evening service. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for making worshiping God a priority in your family's life. With all that is going on around us, we need every day to be crying out to the Lord and setting aside time for Him. So thank you for doing that. As always, we start our evening service with Psalm 91. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. For he will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and buckler. You will not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in darkness, nor the destruction that wastes at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only look with your eyes and see the recompense of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord your dwelling place, the Most High, who is my refuge. No evil shall be allowed to befall you, no plague come near your tent. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. On their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. You will tread on the lion and the adder, the young lion and the serpent you will trample underfoot. Because he holds fast to me in love, I will deliver him. I will protect him because he knows my name. When he calls to me, I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and honor him. With long life, I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Amen. Amen. Oh, we love that psalm. For our praise moment today, we are going back to Psalm 84, written by one of the sons of Korah, who is a Levitical usher or gatekeeper stationed at the house of the Lord. One of 11 psalms written by the ushers. So come on, ushers, we know you are worshipers at heart. Psalm 84 tonight, verses 3 and 4. Even the sparrow finds a home, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may lay her young at your altars, O Lord of hosts, my King and my God. Blessed are those who dwell in your house, ever singing your praise, Selah. You know, the ushers were stationed at the house of God. They lived there. They were stationed, they had their duties on a 24/7 rotation basis. And because of that, they saw stuff. They saw things. And it is awesome to have people in your life who have eyes to see. And these ushers, they truly loved the house of the Lord. And they saw there every detail in the house of God. So it mattered to them when they saw something that was out of place. If a hinge on a door needed to be fixed, if something needed proper cleaning, if something wasn't being attended to, it mattered to these ushers. They were there and they had eyes to see. So they noticed every bird that had made its little nest somewhere along those great stone walls. What a massive and beautiful temple it was. But they noticed these things. You know, when we pray at the Western Wall, even today, when we can go to Israel again, but it has happened every time we've been in Israel, you kind of have to be careful where you sit or stand when you're praying at the Western Wall. Sometimes you sit and you're praying for hundreds of prayer requests, and you have to have a plastic bag across your lap because there are still birds in the cracks and the branches that grow there along the western wall of the Temple Mount. Today at COP, we don't usually have birds that are making their home. We have cats, dogs that try to make their homes there. In South Campus, they actually encourage that because, it keeps the little critters out of the surrounding grassy areas. So it's wonderful to have them there. But these ushers, they cared so much about the house of God that they knew where every nest was. They knew what kind of bird is in that nest, what kind of bird is in that nest. They noticed things. They loved the house of God. And in Romans chapter 8, verse 19, it tells us that all creation is waiting in eager expectation. Creation has a desire to be with its creator. We know that, right? So birds sing, trees clap their hands, ocean waves roar. All of creation praises God and loves to be with him. So these birds had found a spot in the house of the Lord. It kind of reminds me of the little boy Samuel, who grew up right there where the ark of the Lord was, in the presence of the Lord at Shiloh. There he grew up. Wow, what a special place to grow up. So these ushers who had quarters at the presence of God, well, the birds did too. And verse 4 says, "Blessed are those who dwell in your house." Blessed. The Hebrew word there is esher. Esher. It is an interjection. It is one of those words that is an exclamation. It actually means happy or oh, so happy. How happy. So it's implying in the dictionary a heightened state of happiness and joy, implying very favorable circumstances and enjoyment. That's in the Hebrew word dictionary. It reminds us, of course, Esher, it reminds us of Leah, the wife of Jacob, in Genesis 30, verse 13. Leah said, "Happy am I, for women have called me happy." And so she named her son Asher. And if you look at the footnote on that particular passage, the footnote reminds us that Asher sounds like the Hebrew word happy. Esher, right? Asher remains a very popular name for boys in Israel today. I know people named Asher in Israel. Wonderful people, happy people, yes. But imagine if your name was happy. If your name was, now I do know some little children at COP. One is called Smile, the other is called Bless. Wow, Bless and Smile. Wonderful little children. But imagine going through life and everybody calls you, "Hey, happy one. Hey, happy one. Hey, happy." It's hard to have a grumpy day when people are calling you happy, when that is your actual name. So, what do we learn from our verses today? We learn, first of all, to love the house of God, to notice everything about the house of the Lord and take care of it. But we also learn that church is my happy place. Church is our happy place. How happy are those who dwell in the courts of the Lord, in the house of the Lord, gathering together with other believers in the presence of our Creator. How happy! Church is my happy place. Oh, we long to be in the house of the Lord. Amen. Well, right now it is our privilege to worship the Lord together. So let's all stand up. You can stand there with your family. Enter into the worship of the Lord. We're in different homes right now, but we're all lifting our voices together in worship of the Lord. Let's praise him right now.
Love held me closely and set me free. Carry my eyes on the way of the Jesus Redeemer, you call me great. Love so amazing.
Last night we began to interrupt our series from 1 Corinthians because I don't want us to run out too soon. And I began to teach you some material I started on with the Manager Executives Fellowship. And I've been working on it with pastors in our Shepherds Fellowship with pastors across the country. But I thought, I need to teach this to the whole congregation. We live in a weird world right now. Maybe because of the isolation, maybe because of the desperate situation that people find themselves in, maybe just because people are mean-spirited. I've never seen so much division and so much deception taking place, not just in the church world, but in the business world, in the educational world, and in every other world. I mean, every aspect of society, it seems that deception is on a rampage. So last night I began to teach you how Satan is the ultimate deceiver of the world. And we learned that in the last days, deceit prospers in the hands of the Antichrist, and how the Antichrist uses deceit to become strong, even though he has a very small following. So deceit is very powerful. We learned that deceit is empty. It has no substance. It has no truth. There's nothing to back it up. But it does have the power to take people captive. And taking them captive to show them off like, look at what I've accomplished. These people follow me. And so the Apostle John warns us, let no one deceive you. Now, I've always taught deception from the standpoint of this is something we should not do. But I've never taught you deception from the viewpoint, and to be honest, I've never studied it from the viewpoint of this is what it feels like to be deceived. This is what it's like to be on the receiving end of deception. And it has been an enlightening study. I mean, I spent weeks ripping scriptures apart from Genesis to Revelation. And, I've got 20 pages written, and I could probably write another 15 more. But I've been walking you on a journey, first of all, to understand how deception works. We said it works with words. People's mouths are filled with deception. Sometimes those words are words of swearing oaths. Sometimes they're words of smooth talk and flattery. Sometimes they're words that go with a charming personality, the nice guy. The nice people can be the most deceptive because your guard is down. And sometimes it's people using jokes to try to cover up their deception. We said that we had to understand these words of deceit because they're planned. They're not spontaneous. They're well planned. We said the word devise words of deceit means to weave them together. It's a very carefully woven together package. And literally we said that your tongues frame deceit from Psalms 50 verse 19, that people make a picture and they want you just to look inside that picture. That's how they deceive you. So when people ask me, how do you break out of deception? Well, number one, you stop their influence in your life. That's why God put Satan in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. He broke his ability to deceive. And sometimes it means you ask questions, because remember, deceit is empty. There's no substance. There's no facts to back it up. It's, well, trust me in this. And, well, I've seen this. Well, I know this. And I have firsthand experience with this. And they really don't. They have no facts to present except twisted facts. When we start to ask questions and break them out of the picture frame that their words have created, you realize their words are nothing but deceit. But we said they hold to those words with resolute fastness. I mean, they hold on to them. The more you challenge them, the more they hold fast to their deceit, because to give up their deceit means that they would be exposed in their lies. So they hold fast to it. Now, I want to pick up from there and begin to talk about what is the purpose of deceit. Now, when we begin to get into the purpose of deceit, we begin to see things that are going to hurt a little bit. And they make us take off our rose-colored glasses of naivete and face ourselves. And face the fact that we have been wrong about people. You see, the person who deceives you, number one, intends to destroy you. That's what's really in their hearts. There's something in their hearts that wants to destroy you. It may be sweet words from a charmer. It might be a really nice person. but in their real heart, they want to destroy you. Psalms 52, beginning with verse 2. Your tongue plots destruction like a sharp razor, you worker of deceit. Now notice, destruction. People who deceive are not people who build. They don't build relationships. They don't build the work of God. They don't build businesses. People who are deceivers are destroyers. Their tongue plots destruction like a sharp razor. Their words are like sharp razors. Boy, their words are cutting. You love evil more than good, lying more than speaking what is right. Selah. You love all words that devour, O deceitful tongue. Show me a person who says that they want to destroy, and I will show you a deceitful tongue. See, God doesn't destroy. God's a builder of people. God says, I will build my church. God doesn't destroy the church. God wants to help you build that business that He spoke His will to you. He's not interested in tearing your business down, but deceivers are. So again, read that passage there in Psalms 52. Your tongue plots destruction. Like a sharp razor, you worker of deceit. You love evil more than good. That's what's really in their heart. And lying more than speaking what is right. That's what's really in their heart. They love lying. You love all words that devour. Anything that tears other people down, they love those words. O deceitful tongue. Now this is the characteristics of a deceitful tongue. It loves lying and it loves words that devour or put down or destroy other people. Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 8. Their tongue is a deadly arrow. It speaks deceitfully. Now notice, deadly arrow. It speaks deceitfully. With his mouth he speaks peace to his neighbor, but in his heart he plans an ambush for them. Now this is what's in their heart. They speak peace to you. Oh, mwah, mwah, kiss, kiss, love, love. But a person who deceives you is really plotting an ambush in their heart to destroy you. So, all right, the person who deceives you, their purpose of their heart is to destroy you. Secondly, the person who deceives you, forgive me, they hate you. Proverbs 26, verse 24. Whoever hates disguises himself with his lips and harbors deceit in his heart. Now, one of the things that it really hurts to face this in our lives. But when people have deceived us, whether it's an old friend or a relative or whatever, when a person deceives us, what they're actually saying is, I hate you. And I've used my words to disguise the hatred of my heart. I remember a man looking at me one time and said, Pastor Sumrall, trust me, I love you. And I said, the more you say that, the less I believe you. And he got very offended with me. But I've learned in blood the hard way so many times in my life that hatred disguises its lips and harbors deceit. A heart that harbors or holds deceit within it is a heart that is full of hatred. This person who deceives you hates you, and they've just covered it up with their words. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 20. Deceit is in the heart of those who devise evil, but those who plan peace have joy. See, you're either going to plan one of two things. You're going to plan peace or you're going to plan evil. One of the two things. You're going to plan peace or plan evil. There's no in between there. Deceit is in the heart of those who devise evil. When people have corruption in their heart, they're planning evil. They've devised evil. They've figured out a way to get money that's not theirs. They devise evil. Proverbs 26, verse 24. Whoever hates disguises himself with his lips and harbors deceit in his heart. So, all right, let's put on our big boy pants and recognize if people have deceived me, what they really wanted to do is destroy me. If people have deceived me, I don't care how much they said they loved me, in truth, they hated me. Now, deceitful people also reveal to us their true purpose by the companions they hang around with. How many times have you heard me say, show me a person's friends, and I'll show you their true character. Show me the friends. Now, sometimes people mock me and they say, oh, Pastor Sumrall won't keep friends. No, when friends change friends. I believe in keeping good friends in my life. There are things that I look for. I like a friend that loves his wife, that loves his family, that loves the church that he serves. That's the kind of people I want as a friend, that loves God, that loves to pray. That's the kind of a person I want as a friend. Now, a person who's deceitful has some very different kind of companions. And I would ask you, are you prioritizing relationships over right and wrong? And what do people see in your life by the companions that you choose? Titus chapter 1, verse 10. English Standard Version. For there are many who are insubordinate. The Greek word there means rebellious. Empty talkers and deceivers, especially those of the circumcision party. Now notice the three groups of people that hang out together. The insubordinate, the empty talkers, and the deceivers. These are the three people that hang out together. This is, let's call it the deception barcada. The barcada of deception. First of all, they're insubordinate. They're rebellious. I mean, it means, the Greek word here means rebellious, undisciplined, unrestrained, unruly, independent to an extreme. They bow to no one. They cooperate with no one. Empty talkers. The Greek word there means they just talk worthless dribble. There's no substance to what they say. It's just foolishness. Now, this is the group of people that deceivers hang out with. A deceiver, an empty talker who just talks nonsense all the time, and a rebellious person. This is the deception barcada. Now, beloved, I know this is a hard thing to look at, but you have to face this. And you have to look at it and realize, you know what? Maybe as I come out of the pandemic, I should do a reset on the friendships of my life. And I should start to make decisions on who it is that is on my Facebook, who it is that is on my Instagram account, who it is that I hang out with. Am I hanging out with a deceiver? Am I hanging out with empty talkers? Am I hanging out with rebellious people? Then, forgive me, maybe it's time for some new friends. Some friends that'll teach you to love God and love the people of God and love the will of God, and love to pray, and love the Word. Now take it a little farther. There are some general things that we also see about the purposes of deceit in the Bible. And one of them is prophet. Amos chapter 8, verse 5. When will the new moon be over, that we may sell grain, and the Sabbath, that we may offer wheat for sale, that we may make an ephah small and the shekel great, and deal deceitfully with false balances? Have you ever been to the market and you bought a kilo of chicken or a kilo of fish and you got to thinking, you know what, that feels kind of light, okay? You paid for a kilo, but maybe you got 0.85, 0.88. They'd fix the balance a little bit, and what you got was a little light. Micah chapter 6, verse 11. Shall I acquit a man with wicked scales and a bag of deceitful weights? Because before they would stick a weight on the scale. Deceitful weights. This is all about making a profit. People will deceive you to make a profit. It's called corruption. It's called return to sender. It's called you scratch my back and I'll scratch your back. It's called what's in it for me. One of the biggest challenges businessmen face right now is, they've got purchasers, and the purchasing department says, all right, we'll agree with your bid, but we would like this much stuck in our personal bank account. And then in your treasury department, you've got people saying, listen, I'll release your check, but I'd like this much in my personal account. Or, forgive me, architects and contractors who go to people and say, listen, I'll give you this bid and I'll approve these billings, but I want this much in my bank account. I've learned a lot in my 40 years as your pastor, but it's amazing to me. You go to buy a car, and you find that the guy selling you the car is pushing you to do a loan, and pushing you to do a loan with this bank that he wants you to do business with, and you go, no, I don't like the bank. Well, then they won't sell you the car. And then I just found out that there's a reason for that. Because there's a kickback system, not with all banks, but with some of the banks, where the salesman, if he swings the deal to that bank, he gets a percentage put back in his personal account. That's how he makes money. Now forgive me. If somebody would come straight up and say that, okay. But when they hide it, and when they use deception, that's false scales. And there's so much deception that takes place in business today, especially in this day when, forgive me, you order things online. So much deception. Yeah, I can remember one time, years ago, I walked into a restaurant, and I was in Hong Kong, and it was a Japanese restaurant. And in Hong Kong, most of the Japanese restaurants, they have things outside, and because they don't speak English when you go in, and they don't speak Tagalog when you go in. So you point at a picture. And so I pointed to this picture, and it was beef teppanyaki. And I pointed at another picture, and it was tuna sashimi. And I pointed at another picture, and it was a Coke Light. When the food came to my table, that was not beef teppanyaki. And that was not tuna sashimi. I'm not sure what the fish was. But in the old days, in the 80s, we'd often get horse meat mixed up with beef in the market in Divisoria. And I know what horse meat tastes like. That was horse meat. That was not beef. You say, well, Pastor, you should have gone to a better restaurant. Yeah, I should have, but sometimes you're trying to be Ilocano. And you just have to learn. There's deception used to make a profit. Now, for those of you that are in business, don't do that. Whether it's watering down the lugao that you're selling, don't do that. Don't use deception to make more money for yourself, because in the long run, it'll destroy your business. Now, I know people tell you that you have to go along to get along, and I know people tell you that you have to use deception, but don't do this. Learn to say what you mean and mean what you say. Learn that when you say, this is what I'm selling you, that's what you deliver. I was in Hong Kong one time years ago on Nathan Road, and I bought a cell phone. And when I got home, it was the old Nokia cell phones. Remember the rechangeable batteries? Remember the old Nokia phones, and you pop off the back and pop out the battery? Well, when I got it home, I turned on the phone, and the battery died within an hour or two. And I thought, well, that's weird. So I charged it again. Same thing, an hour or two. And I opened it up, and I realized that was not the original battery. That was a fake battery. That was a cheap battery. They had taken the real battery, and they'd sold that separate for a replacement battery to people. They deceived me, but they charged me full price. I took a friend one time to Mongkok, to the computer center, and he bought an IBM computer. And about 4 or 5 months later, he was having it repaired in Florida. And the guy looked at him and said, you need to understand that there have been several parts in this computer that have been changed out. These are not original IBM parts. These are imitation parts. And the real parts have been taken out. And he called me on the phone and said, listen, I'm sorry. I don't know. The next time I went back to that store, I said, I bought a lot of computers from you over the years and had a lot of friends come by and bought computers from you. Why did you do this to me? And they chuckled. Well, usually it holds up long enough that people don't notice. I just said, you know what? You just lost your customer, and you know what? I'll never bring anybody here to you again. You deceived me. Now, beloved, I know people think that, you can get away with it. And maybe in a good economy with a lot of rollover business and new customers, you can get away with it. But as a Christian, I don't think you're going to get away with it very long, because it's wrong. You want to build good customers, Don't use false balances. That's dealing deceitfully with false balances. Amos 8, verse 5, Micah 6, verse 1. Now, another general thing that we see is how Satan uses deceit to do his work. Acts chapter 13, verse 10. You son of the devil. Remember, Jesus talked about there are sons of the devil and there are sons of God in the parable of the wheat and the tares. Paul said, you son of the devil, you enemy of all unrighteousness, full of all deceit and villainy, will you not stop making crooked the straight paths of the Lord? So here was a guy who was pretending to be a servant of God. Pretending. And they were full of deceit. Satan's false workers in this world are full of deceit. 2 Corinthians 11, verse 13, Paul said, for such men are false apostles, deceitful workmen, disguising themselves as apostles of Christ. Now, brothers and sisters, at some point you're going to have to realize that there's a lot of wonderful pastors out there in the world, a lot of wonderful, great workers for God out there in the world. But there are some people out there in the world that are sons of the devil. They're the tares. They're what Jesus called the tares. And the thing about those tares is they look just like the wheat. The sons of God and the sons of the devil, they look just alike. And the only difference you can tell is when they bear fruit. Because the fruit of a tare is deadly. It doesn't build anything. It doesn't grow anything. It just destroys. The fruit of the wheat grows and builds people. I mean, people eat it. They gain weight. They grow strong. But you eat the fruit of the tare. You eat too much of it, you die. You eat a little bit of it. I was studying some stuff the other day. You eat a little bit of it, and it's intoxicating. They used to grind it up and mix it with wine as an intoxication drink. Just a little bit, because it is poisonous. But you need to understand that these deceitful workmen, these sons of the devil, they're out there, and they look just like the real deal. You know them by their fruit. Does their fruit grow things? Or does their fruit destroy things? That's how you can tell the difference. Now, I'm going to take you a little bit farther and begin to talk to you about some specific deceivers in our lives. And I'm going to get a lot more into this tomorrow night. I'm going to skip the big one, which is first, and I'm going to deal with a small one to close out with today. Tonight and tomorrow night, I want to talk to you about people who are close to us who deceive us. And then we'll get into people who we don't know and they deceive us. But the deception from people that know you well and the deception from people that don't know you at all, the methodology is very different. And you have to learn to recognize the difference. Now let's start with a small one. Tomorrow night we're going to get into a big one, which is the deception of Isaac by Jacob and Rebekah, his wife. But let's start later on in Jacob's life with a small one tonight. In Genesis chapter 29, verse 35, and in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And Jacob said to Laban, what is this you have done to me? Did I not serve with you for Rachel? Why then have you deceived me? So here was his father-in-law that he had served with for 7 years. Lived in his home and served with him because he wanted to marry the daughter Rachel. And then on the wedding night, he wakes up after the wedding night, and it's not Rachel. It's Leah, the sister. He said, why have you deceived me? Now, how is it, and we can get into the sowing and reaping thing at a later discussion, but how is it that Laban, who was close to Jacob, deceived him? Well, number one, it required that Jacob trusted him. This is going to be my father-in-law. This is a man I work with every day. The people that you work with every day can often deceive you because they know how to exploit your weaknesses. Now think of the weaknesses of Jacob on this night. First of all, it's his wedding night. He's been waiting and burning with a little bit of passion. He's a normal guy. He wants to have sex. He's been burning with passion for Rachel for 7 years. Every time he sees her, he's burning with passion. And so on the wedding night, forgive me, he's not thinking straight. He's burning with passion. Secondly, there's no light. Thirdly, the awkwardness of the wedding night. I know the world always presents the wedding night as this great night of passion and romance, but for most people, the wedding night is kind of an awkward night. So the darkness, the awkwardness, the burning of passion, yeah. The close relationship that he had with Laban, Laban knew how to deceive him. He knew what would be required to exploit that trust. He knew exactly how to do this. He won't know the difference until tomorrow morning when the sun comes up and he sees the face. He won't know the difference. But there's something else. In order for this man who Jacob knew well to deceive him, it required Rachel, the woman he loved, to be complicit. She knew this was to be her wedding night. And she had to step back and be silent. She had to put her family and what her father told her to do ahead of right and wrong. She had to put her relationship with her father ahead of the man that she was supposed to marry and that she was in love with. It required Leah being complicit. She knew that Jacob didn't love her. She knew that this was not to be her wedding night. Those two sisters had to be controlled and dominated by their father Laban, to be complicit for this deception to work. And you wonder why later, when it was time to leave, those two daughters were very willing to walk away and leave their father? Look at how he had treated them. He had forced them into being complicit into something that they knew was wrong. And forgive me, they put family before right and wrong. Now, I'm going to stop there tonight, but I want to apply this to you for just a moment. There are going to be times when people deceive you. And in order for the deception to work, number one, they have to exploit your weaknesses. It's dark. I'm burning with passion. It's my wedding night. They have to know your weaknesses and be able to exploit them. But number two, they also have to have other people. That's why it's called a conspiracy. They have to have the Leahs and the Rachels who are involved in it. They have to get them by force, by coercion, or by agreement to be complicit with it. Now you have to think sometimes. These people who were pushed into being complicit in the deception, you have to ask yourself the question, why were they complicit? Is it something that they were forced to do, and I'm not going to hold it against them? Or is it something that they were in agreement with, and I should back up on these people and hold it against them? See, for people to deceive you who know you well, for that deception to work, they have to exploit your weaknesses, they have to exploit your trust, and they have to have the other people around them and around you in the situation to be complicit. And you've got some decisions to make when you get that all figured out. Now I'm going to stop there tonight, and we're going to go back to the big long one on how Jacob and his mama Rachel deceived their father Isaac. We'll get into that tomorrow night. I pray you're learning. These are things to think about. And remember what John says, let no one deceive you. We'll see you tomorrow night, and morning devotions at 6 a.m.
Thank you for going online for tonight's evening service. We hope that you will join Pastors David and Beverley Sumrall of the Cathedral of Praise, Manila again tomorrow at 7 p.m. You may also join our daily devotions with Pastor David E. Sumrall every Monday to Saturday at 6 a.m. Our drive-in service is available for booking and happens every Saturday at 7:30 a.m. and Sunday at 7:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. For more information and updates, visit us on facebook.com/cop.manila.